We're as ready as we're going to get.
We are ready. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to TalksMackToThePreacher.com. I'm Rick.
I'm Steve.
It's January 2012, and we are continuing something we started last week, which is about questions about Christology, doctrines and theologies surrounding Jesus, etc., and beliefs about that. And last week we talked about the divine.
Divinity, right?
Was Jesus divine? What does that even mean? Where did that idea come from? What does that even mean, etc.?
So and got all that sorted. So now
that's answered. I don't know if you looked at last week's video, but you might want to, in case you ever wanted to know that, now you can know.
There's a link right behind us.
If you'll look here on your screen, you can see it. Today we're gonna toss out a few of what we are affectionately calling Jesus myths. That does not mean these are not true, right?
Yeah, there's no judgment of
doesn't mean
accuracy. We're just discussing them.
These are things that people assert about Jesus, which for somebody who's asking questions might be good things to consider.
Exactly.
And maybe they're not true, or maybe they're kind of true, or maybe I can speak for myself, maybe I just sort of inhaled that these things were so because they were assumed within my religious tradition growing up. And maybe they're not, or maybe they are.
For example?
For example, I always thought Jesus was a white guy who spoke English.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he? Because he was
painted that way.
He looked like a Caucasian in the paintings.
Every time you read the scriptures, it's in English, at least. Or Latin, I suppose, but...
Well, but I mean, there was even a lot of argument in the culture in which I grew up that it had to be there had to be a specific translation of the Bible in English because that was the language that, essentially that God spoke.
Exactly, it wasn't a common vernacular version of English too, like you're saying. It was these and thous and... lots of that.
It turns out I don't think Jesus spoke that. I could be wrong, but I'm not.
It was interesting now in retrospect to reflect on how people would speak in a normal tone to one another until they were quoting from the Bible, and then it had to be exactly in that King James flowery English version.
It kind of still happens that way when people pray aloud in public.
Not so much with the forsakeths and beeths and...
I know, but
it's still there.
I mean, people...
The tone changes.
It does. It becomes more King James Englishy, even if you're not saying est and eths at the end.
I think maybe it's an attempt to try to bring some honor and properness to what people are saying.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just saying... Maybe Jesus spoke like a very, like a common person.
Yeah.
And so there's that.
Well, he was certainly not a rich person.
Nope.
Or a highly educated person in the strict traditional sense of education.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
So not a rich white American.
Probably not.
Which is odd because so many rich white Americans follow Jesus. But then sort of hope that he looks like and speaks like we do, which is probably incorrect.
I would think you're probably... And I'm hoping that's the doorbell and not...
No, that's not the rapture.
Oh, okay, good.
That's the doorbell to this building where we meet. It always does that whenever anybody goes in or out, as far as you know. If this website should crash...
then maybe it was the rapture.
Or God's wrath coming down just on us for asking these questions. How about some more? Other assumptions about, I'm sure that you have plenty that people have told you or that you've heard or that just sort of go without question. Like the one that I was taught, which is that Jesus died for our sins. Like we could do a whole series of videos or conversations or discussions around what that would even mean. Like, what does the atonement concept of Jesus dying for our sins mean? Is that even what Jesus had in mind? One of the things I like to say to reframe this when I'm talking about this, for me, for my own sanity, is sanity in the sense that it helps me keep it grounded in a way that I can
Right.
get at the story for me is that Jesus was executed as an enemy of the state. Which I think on paper would be what happened at a historical. But then there's the whole Jesus died for our sins, which means something?
It also begs the question, was him dying under the normal circumstances of the day, was that enough? Or does it have to be anything more than that?
But it must have some sort of theological significance that is, there must be some reason for that to have happened, which is obviously what Christian theologians had to work on for centuries to figure that out. Also that Jesus was, when they say Jesus is without sin, what does that mean?
He never did
I want you to
anything
answer
bad.
that, by the way. He never what?
He never did anything bad?
Right. Like?
I don't know.
Are you talking about specifically the 600 plus commandments that are in the Jewish written law? Or are we talking about anything that would be considered bad?
That's a good question.
I want to know. I want you to answer it.
I would. Whenever I thought of that, I guess I always thought of it as never anything wrong, in the purest sense. No human laws, but just.
Okay.
God would look down in judgment, like God always does.
Right.
And would find him not wanting.
So in a culture, let's say, that values the art of clever and skillful deceit and spin and how you say something is, I mean, it could be a totally cultural thing that you tell a good story and it doesn't have to be true. Does that mean that if that was Jesus' culture that he would be with sin because he had told stories interestingly as a way of turning them, and that was exactly how their culture understood it?
Maybe more clearly, I just always envisioned that Jesus never did the things that I thought I did wrong up to that point in my life.
Oh, so it's you.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah.
So Jesus was without sin according to the Steve Fish template of what assumes is either good or bad thought, behavior, or action.
Right.
Well, now you know.
Because it made it easier for me to feel bad about what I did, because there's an example of
somebody who would never do that.
Who would never do that and would judge me for having done that.
Got it. Well, then that helps, though. It's good to have. It's good to have somebody. Well, what if Jesus had been married to 3 women? In our culture, we would consider that to be wrong. But half the people in Genesis are married to 3 people.
And some people today.
No, I'm just saying, would that?
No.
I mean, it's in the.
It's a good question. That is a good question.
Or did Jesus get mad at other kids on the playground? Does that mean that he was sinning when he was in 5th grade?
Good question.
I don't know.
There's a new. I'm going to go way out, and then we'll probably have to quickly because time and all that.
There's only so much.
Yeah, there's a theory floating around. A couple of books talking about the idea that to get really good at something, you have to practice it for about 10,000 hours. That's the magic number.
Really?
So in the process of getting up to his 10,000 hours of being, was there something? Was he practicing? Did he not quite get certain other things right? I don't know. Was he human?
I'm going to commit 10,000 hours to being without sin.
Right.
And some of it is going to be a little iffy
Messy.
as I'm trying it.
Yeah.
But I get a grace period for the first 10,000 hours.
Just
after which...
you better get it right. Or you will get it right.
And Jesus got it right, obviously.
That's what he practiced, so that's what he got good at.
So he passed his owls, as they say in Harry Potter, with excellence on all of them.
So why don't you chime in and tell us what you think?
Help, please, because this is big.
Obviously,
there's a lot here, and let's sort it together. Let's talk about it.
We'd like to hear from you.
Okay, bye.
Take care, bye.